Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Medisodes. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that's close to everybody's heart: sleep. Now, I don't know about you, but I love to sleep. And sleep is incredibly important for our health. So let's start with why sleep is so important. So, many of us have had poor night's sleep, and after that, we can feel grumpy, frustrated, and generally not ourselves. That we also have lack of focus, and we can also have foggy brain, especially in the morning after a poor night's sleep. Unfortunately, 1 in 3 people in the UK experience poor sleep, and this has implications not only on health but also economically, as their productivity is much less. Regular poor sleep can also lead to much more serious health conditions such as obesity, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. By sleeping less leptin is produced, and this is the hormone that makes us feel full. At the same time, the hunger hormone, ghrelin, increasingly produced, which causes us to feel more hungry and therefore leads to obesity. And then obesity will lead to cardiovascular disease and diabetes, as we've talked about in our 3 videos about these 3 subjects. And overall, this leads to shorter life expectancy. There's also the mental health aspect of this. People who have depression have been shown to sleep less, and this causes many detrimental effects in mental health. If we look at the UK, the average time a person sleeps for is between 5.78 and 6.83 hours per night, and this is less than the global average, which is 6.9 hours. And this means that Brits are losing out on nearly 9 days of sleep per year, which is a huge amount. It's slightly better in the under 25s category, but they're still losing many, many days of sleep per year. Globally, Japan has the worst sleep record. Men only get 6.3 hours and women only 6.4 hours. Finland has the best average, with 7.24 hours for men and 7.45 hours for women. It's important to note that for most adults, the recommended amount of sleep is 8 hours. So on average, even the best performing nation is still well behind what doctors would recommend for sleep. If we turn to when people are going to sleep, most people in the UK are going to sleep between 10 and 11. However, over 20% are still sleeping after midnight, which is especially damaging. The sleep deprived age group is 35 to 44-year-olds. Many people use naps as well to supplement the sleep they get at night. And although this can have minor health benefits, naps need to be kept short, from between 10 to 20 minutes, and they need to be done before 3 p.m. And that's to make sure that the nap isn't interfering with the body's body clock or circadian rhythm, which dictates when you should go to sleep. As a rule of thumb, if you wake up tired and long for naps during the day, you need more sleep during the night. And this is especially important as we're spending more time on computers during lockdown. We've talked a bit about why sleep is such a crucial aspect of everybody's lives. Now on to Anupam, who's going to be talking about why sleep is so important from an evolutionary perspective.
Sleep, when you look at it, doesn't make much sense from an evolutionary standpoint. In fact, it's very counterintuitive to spend 8 hours of your 24-hour day just lying there, doing nothing, open to the elements, and easy pickings for any predator that might come along. For many people, especially scientists who are researching the problem, they were stumped as to why humans would spend most of their time sleeping when we evolved in such a dangerous environment, such as the African savanna, where lions, tigers, and all sorts could come along and eat any sleeping human. However, sleep is not just seen in humans, it's seen in all animals, which suggests that its needs serve something beyond just something that affects humans. And there are three main theories that scientists have as to why we sleep and why it evolved. The first is the energy conservation theory. Simply put, we need to sleep to conserve energy. Sleeping allows us to reduce our caloric needs by spending part of our time functioning at a lower metabolism. While awake, brain metabolism generates end products, such as reactive oxygen species, which may be damaging to brain cells and inhibit their proper function. During sleep, these metabolic rates decrease and reactive oxygen species generation is reduced, enabling restorative processes. This sleeping brain has been shown to remove metabolic end products at a faster rate than an awake brain. This also ties into why humans sleep so much. Human brains, as we all know, are far more developed than any other animal and are therefore much more susceptible to these metabolic risks that are posed by a lack of sleep. This also ties into the second theory, or the brain plasticity theory, which say that sleep is required for brain function. More specifically, it allows neurons to reorganize during sleep. When you sleep, the glymphatic or waste clearance system clears out waste, such as the metabolic end products like I mentioned, from the central nervous system, as well as removing toxic byproducts from the brain. During this process, the neurons in your brain rewire and form new connections, which, as we all know, is key to a lot of the way that our brains work. Another separate theory is called the restorative theory, and this isn't just about the brain, but the whole body, and it says that sleep is needed to restore the body. During sleep, proponents of this theory argue, the human organism physically restores itself, occurring mostly during slow wave sleep, during which body temperature, heart rate, and brain oxygen consumption all decrease. In both brain and body, the reduced rate of metabolism enables these restorative processes. This theory is also strengthened by the fact that sleep is observed across the animal kingdom, which means it makes more sense than the memory consolidation or metabolic processes theories, which are more specific to humans. Finally, one theory that has emerged in recent years is that sleep helps us to process and consolidate new memories. While this would serve as a better argument for humans, it does make sense for other animals as well. Our memory system is a psychological wonder, and many studies have been unable to determine how memories truly work, but all of them agree that sleep plays a big role in forming long-term memories and providing behind-the-scenes maintenance for your memories. Its benefit depends on the phase of sleep and type of memory. However, one school of thought is that sleep aids our memories by refreshing and reorganizing them without interfering with waking thoughts. This evidence comes from several studies, using methods such as recording brains directly, or by testing rats, who are trained to find their way around a maze. Their brains actually produce the same activity patterns during sleep as they had during the activity, suggesting that the brain was somehow recreating the experience during sleep, in an aid to boost its memory. In any case, our society has shown that it is grown around sleep. Studies have shown that within humans there are distinctly different night owls and early risers, suggesting that as human society and civilization evolved, certain people had evolved to wake up early to protect the ones who were sleeping during that time, and vice versa. While in the 21st century, with very regimented schedules for a lot of society, this is less necessary, it is still very evident in a lot of people who find waking up in the mornings a challenge. Now I'm going to pass on to Adrian, who's going to tell us all about the stages of sleep.
So, I'm going to be talking about the different stages that the body goes through when asleep. Contrary to popular belief, sleep is not a uniform resting period. Over the course of the night, your body cycles through the sleep cycle several times, and the number of times that the body cycles through the cycle depends on how long you're asleep for. On a typical night's sleep, a person goes through 4 to 6 sleep cycles, and an average length for each sleep cycle is about 1.5 hours. Not all sleep cycles are the same, and it is normal for them to vary as you progress through the night. Generally, they increase in length as time progresses, so the first sleep cycle is usually the shortest, from 70 to 100 minutes, while later sleep cycles are longer, usually between 1.5 to 2 hours long. In addition, the composition of each sleep cycle changes throughout the night's sleep. Not all sleep cycles are made of the same substages. Sleep cycles differ from person to person and from night to night, based on a variety of factors, such as age, sleep patterns, stress, and alcohol consumption. There are 4 distinct sleep stages within each sleep cycle, 1 for rapid eye movement and 3 which form non-rapid eye movement sleep. These stages are based on analysis of the brain's activity during sleep and are hard to identify from the outside. Stage 1, or N1, is the first stage of the sleep cycle and is an NREM stage, for non-rapid eye movement. This stage is where the person dozes off, and typically lasts from 1 to 5 minutes. During this stage, the body isn't yet fully relaxed, and the brain activities associated with sleep start at this stage. It is easy to wake someone up in this stage of sleep, and as the night proceeds, a person may spend less and less time in this stage of sleep. Stage 2, or N2, is the next stage, and is also an NREM stage. This is the stage where the body enters a more calm, relaxed state, including a drop in body temperature, relaxing of the muscles, and slower breathing and heart rate. At the same time, brain waves show a new pattern and eye movement stops. The brain activity slows, though there may be still frequent bursts of activity. This stage lasts 10 to 15 minutes at first, and often becomes progressively longer over time. Over the whole night, about half the time is spent in this stage of sleep. Stage 3, or N3, is commonly known as deep sleep, and it is harder to wake someone up in this phase of sleep. Muscle tone, pulse, and breathing rate decrease in N3 sleep as the body relaxes further. Most of the sleep cycles are spent in N3 sleep, but as the night goes on, this progressively gets shorter, and more time is spent in REM sleep. REM sleep, for rapid eye movement, is the final stage of a typical sleep cycle. During this stage, the brain activity picks up, nearing levels to a person being awake. At the same time, the body is temporarily paralyzed, with the exception of the eyes and muscles of other necessary functions, including breathing and heart rate. Even though the lids are shut, the eyeballs are moving rapidly, and this is how this state gets its name, and this rapid eye movement is often visible from the outside. REM sleep is believed to be essential to cognitive functions, like memory, learning, and creativity. REM sleep is the period that comes with the most vivid dreams, which is explained by the significant uptick in brain activity. Dreams can occur in any sleep stage, but they are less common and intense in the NREM stage. Sleep stages are important because they allow for the brain and body to recuperate from the day and develop further. Sleepers who are frequently awoken during the earlier stages, such as people with sleep apnea, may struggle to properly cycle into the deeper sleep stages, which means they may feel less rested with less hours of sleep. People with insomnia may not get enough total sleep and accumulate the needed time in each stage. And now, I'll hand back to Shrey, who will be talking about why we aren't getting enough sleep nowadays.
So, we've seen that sleep is such an important part of our lives, but we've also seen that many people are not getting enough sleep. There are multiple reasons for this. For example, stress at work can lead to less sleep. Also, looking at mobile phones and other electronic devices has been shown to reduce both the time people sleep for and also the quality of sleep due to the blue light that these devices emit, which mess with the natural body clock or circadian rhythm and trick the brain into thinking that it's day when it's actually night. Generally, sleep has been seen as something that can be caught up on later in the week, which is not really the case. Firstly, making a regular sleeping schedule is very important. Many people have to get up at a certain time in the morning to get to work or to get to school. By counting back from that time that they need to wake up, we can determine when they need to go to sleep. So, say that you need to wake up at 7 o'clock to get your train or your bus or whatever you need to get to work. If we count back and say that you need 8 hours of sleep, in theory, you should be in bed by 11. And it's important, once we've realized this, that we make sure that we're in bed by this time and that we make it strict and we make sure that we're getting sleep at the same time every night, because it's very important that our body understands that our sleep schedule as well, and that variability within the sleep schedule is detrimental to our health. So before you go to bed, there can also be some things that you can do to make sure that you get a better quality of sleep. For example, instead of going straight from a stressful activity that requires a lot of focus and attention, you need to wind down slowly to sleep to make sure that you're getting your body prepared. For example, you could have a warm bath, you can do some yoga or some light relaxation exercises. But make sure that these exercises are not too strenuous, otherwise, you'll have the opposite effect on your body. Reading a book or listening to an audiobook or just a radio program or podcast can help to relax ourselves and clear our mind before we go to sleep. It's also important to make sure that we don't have any distractions or anything on our mind from the day, and we can clear our mind using to-do lists. For example, if you have certain tasks that you know you have to do, write them down and either on your phone or on a physical piece of paper, and then forget about them. Leave them for the morning. Don't stress about them during the night. It's not effective. It's also important to consider where you're sleeping. So in your bedroom, you need to make sure that it's dark, quiet, you've got a good mattress, and you're at the right temperature, which is recommended anywhere between 18 to 24 degrees, depending on your personal preference. If your room doesn't have these, you can invest maybe in thick curtains, and in extreme cases, you might want to invest in double glazing if your windows don't have double glazing. Or a more simple solution would be earplugs or a simple eye mask that you might see when you go on a plane. All these steps can help to make sure that you have a better night's sleep and you're more refreshed in the morning to start your day. And this will both improve your quality of life and also making sure that you're not at risk from the severe health problems that could come from reduced sleep. So we've talked today about the importance of sleep, how to improve your sleep, evolutionary, why sleep is so crucial, and also the different stages of sleep. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Medisodes and stay tuned for next week's episode. Thank you.